The capture, hook, and suspense start. The dark sky over the alien planet flickered with strange colors. The air was thick and heavy, and the wind carried sharp whispers. This place was nothing like the safe worlds humans knew. It was a prison world, harsh and unforgiving. It was here that Myra, a young human scout, found herself trapped. Myra had been part of a small team sent to explore new worlds. Their mission was simple: gather information and report back. But this world had secrets. It was ruled by a cruel alien race known only as the Vraks. The Vraks were feared across the galaxy for their cold minds and deadly strength. They took no prisoners, and their torture was a nightmare told in whispers. Myra never thought she would become one of their victims. But now, chained in a dark cell, she could only hope for a miracle. Her body ached from the wounds the Vraks had left. Her skin was bruised, her hands raw from the chains. Yet her eyes held a fire that no pain could dim. She was not broken. Not yet. For 7 long days, she endured the torture. The Vraks came every night, asking questions she could not answer. They wanted secrets of the human alliance, information about Earth's defenses, and the locations of hidden fleets. Myra gave nothing. Her mind raced to find a way out. She studied the patterns of her captors, the sound of their steps, and the weak points in her cell. Even in pain, her sharp mind worked. On the 7th night, something changed. The Vraks' commander, a towering figure with eyes like burning coals, entered her cell. He was silent at first, watching her with a cold smile. "You are strong, human," he said in a voice like ice. "But strength will not save you. You will break." Myra looked up, steady and defiant. "I will never give you what you want." The commander's smile widened. "We shall see." As he turned to leave, Myra did something no one expected. Using the last of her strength, she pressed a small device hidden under her torn clothing. It was a secret signal beacon, a small, almost useless piece of human technology, but it could send a distress signal across the stars. She had no idea if anyone would receive it. It was a desperate hope. The signal sent out a faint pulse, a cry for help in the vast emptiness of space. Meanwhile, far away in the orbiting human battleship, a soldier named Kane sat quietly in his command chair. Kane was known among his comrades as reckless, fearless, and sometimes too bold for his own good. When the signal flashed on his screen, his heart skipped a beat. It was the code only a human in trouble could send. And it was coming from the planet below the Forbidden World controlled by the Vraks. Without waiting for orders, Kane grabbed his gear. "They need me," he said to himself. "No one else will go." Kane's ship slipped silently through the dark atmosphere. Every moment was filled with danger. The Vraks controlled the planet with powerful weapons and watchful eyes. But Kane did not care. His only goal was to find Myra and bring her home. Back in the cell, Myra felt a small spark of hope. She did not know who had received her signal, but she believed in the strength of humanity. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps. The guards were coming again. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and prepared herself. She had survived a week of pain, and she was ready to fight whatever came next. Outside her cell, Kane's ship landed quietly in a hidden clearing. The night was dark, but Kane's senses were sharp. He moved fast, using every skill he had learned. In years of combat, the Vraks' patrols were numerous, but Kane was smarter. He avoided their lights and stayed in the shadows. Each step brought him closer to Myra. Inside the cell, Myra heard strange noises, footsteps, whispers, and then silence. Something was happening. Maybe help was near. Her heart beat faster. She pushed back the pain and waited. Suddenly, the door to her cell opened. A figure stepped inside, a human, dressed in dark armor, eyes burning with determination. "It's me," he whispered. I'm here to get you out." Myra's lips trembled in disbelief. After a week of torture, after endless nights of fear, a human had come. A brave, reckless human who would risk everything to save her. Her fight was not over. But now she was not alone. The Vraks would regret the day they captured her. Humanity was coming. Asterisk the waiting game. The cold walls of the alien prison echoed. With whispers, Myra's mind was sharp despite the pain. Every moment felt heavy, but she stayed alert. She knew the Vraks wanted her to break, but her spirit held strong in the dark control room. The Vraks commander sat with several others. There, faces were twisted with anger and curiosity. "We must know what the humans are planning," the commander said, his voice low but firm. "She is important." Another alien, smaller but fierce, leaned forward. "She holds no secrets yet, but time will come." Mira listened to their words through the thin walls of her cell. They were confident the torture would succeed. But she had no intention to give up. Outside, Kane waited. He knew the Vraks were watching closely. Every second was dangerous. If the guards found him too soon, Myra's chance to escape would vanish. Kane checked his equipment. His hands moved fast, steady, even though his heart raced. "This is worse than I thought," he whispered. "But I won't fail." Back in the cell, Myra's body was weak, but her mind was fighting. She remembered her training. Every time pain struck, she focused on breathing. Every time fear crept in, she remembered Earth, her home. She had to survive. Not just for herself, but for everyone depending on her. Meanwhile, the Vraks guards came again. They dragged her from the cell for another round of questioning. The pain was sharp, but Myra's silence was sharper. The commander watched, pleased with their progress. "She will talk soon," he said with certainty. But Myra had one last trick. Before the guards left, she secretly dropped a tiny piece of metal from her broken chain. It slid to the floor, unnoticed by the aliens. It was a small part of a communicator. She had hidden on her body, something humans never expected the Vraks to find. Kane had told her to leave signals, little clues if possible. This was one. That night, Mira lay on the cold floor, her breath shallow. The fear was still there, but a small hope glowed inside her. Far above, Kane's ship waited silently. The stars watched over him, as if knowing the fight was just beginning. Kane could hear nothing but the faint pulse of Mira's secret signals. The whole galaxy was quiet, but soon it would roar. Asterisk. The humans' arrival. Kane's ship slipped through the thick clouds of the alien world. Every second felt heavy. The planet below was full of danger unknown weapons, patrolling guards, and traps meant to catch anyone who tried to enter. Kane was not afraid. He had trained for moments like this. His mission was clear. Find Mira and bring her home. Inside his small ship, Kane checked his weapons one last time. His fingers moved fast but steady. This was no ordinary rescue. The Vraks were ruthless, and time was running out. The ship touched down silently in a dark forest near the alien prison. Shadows twisted between the trees, hiding unknown threats. Kane stepped out, feeling the cold wind against his face. The forest was alive with strange noises, distant growls, the rustle of leaves, and the steady footsteps of alien patrols. He moved quickly, but carefully. Every step took him closer to Myra's prison. Inside the cell, Myra's heart raced. She could feel something was changing. The alarms were quiet, but her secret signals had started to reach their target. Kane was near. The prison was a maze of metal halls and locked doors. Kane knew he had to be smart. He avoided cameras and patrols, using his training and instinct. At one point, a group of Vraks guards appeared. Kane held his breath and hid behind a pillar. His pulse was fast but steady. When the guards passed, Kane slipped forward, closer to the prison's heart. He remembered Myra's last message, the code for her cell. It was a small beacon hidden under the floor, near the third door on the left. Kane found the beacon, glowing faintly. He touched it and smiled. Mira was alive. Suddenly, a guard heard a noise and turned. Kane had no time. He fought quickly, using moves he had practiced his whole life. The fight was short but fierce. Kane took down the guard and moved on. Finally, he reached the door of Myra's cell. Kane pulled out a small device, a universal lockpick. It beeped softly as it hacked the door's system. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, Mira looked up. Her eyes were tired, but filled with hope. "It's you," she whispered. Kane nodded. "I'm here to take you home." The moment was quiet but powerful. Two humans against impossible odds. But the prison was not safe yet. Outside, alarms began to sound. Kane grabbed Mira's arm. "We have to move, now." Together, they stepped into the dark hall, ready to face whatever came next. Asterisk, the rescue begins. The moment the prison door closed behind them, the sharp echo of alarms filled the air. Red lights flashed everywhere, turning the cold metal corridors into a chaotic maze of color and sound. Kane tightened his grip on Myra's arm. "Stay close. We don't have much time." Mira nodded, her weak body steadying with the sudden surge of hope and adrenaline. Pain still pulled at her muscles, but she pushed it aside. This was her chance. Together, they dashed into the twisting halls. The air smelled of oil and smoke, mixed with the harsh tang of alien chemicals. The Vrax guards were already moving fast, shouting orders in their harsh language. Kane counted them. 6 patrols closing in. Using quick thinking, Kane led Myra down a narrow side passage. It was darker, less traveled, but it was their best chance to escape. Myra gasped as she saw a heavy door at the end. "Can you open it?" she asked. Kane shook his head. "Locked tight, but I have an idea." He pulled out a small device from his belt, a compact plasma cutter. With steady hands, he sliced through the metal bars securing the door. Suddenly, footsteps thundered behind them. The Vrax were close. Mira looked around and spotted a ventilation shaft just above the doorframe. "There!" she pointed. Without hesitation, Kane lifted her up. She slipped inside the narrow shaft with a quick nod. Then Kane followed, his armor scraping against the metal walls. The shaft was tight and dark, but it led upward. They crawled through the silence, hearts pounding louder than their breath. After what felt like forever, they reached an exit point, a small hatch high above a large chamber. Kane pushed the hatch open and peered down. Below, dozens of armed Vrax gathered, preparing reinforcements. "They're waiting for us," Kane whispered. Myra's eyes narrowed. "Then we make our own way." With care, they dropped down into a storage room filled with crates and alien machinery. Kane scanned quickly and found 2 light rifles. He handed one to Myra. "Here, you might need this." Mira held the weapon awkwardly but determined. "Thank you." Suddenly, the door behind them burst open. 4 Vrax soldiers charged in. Kane and Mira took cover behind crates. The fight was fast and brutal. Kane's training showed as he moved with deadly precision, taking down enemies one by one. Myra fired carefully, her aim growing better with each shot. Despite her pain and exhaustion, she fought fiercely. When the last Vrax fell, Kane looked at Mira with pride. "You're stronger than you know." Myra smiled weakly. "I learned from humans like you." Their escape was far from over. The alarms still blared, and more enemies would come. But now they were together, ready to face whatever waited ahead. Asterisk. The chase and sacrifice. Kane and Myra sprinted through the winding corridors, the echoes of their footsteps chasing them like shadows. Behind, the Vrax warriors roared in anger. their heavy boots pounding the metal floor as they gave chase. Mira's breath was shallow. Pain throbbed in every limb, but she pushed forward, fueled by hope and Kane's steady presence beside her. Suddenly, the corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with strange alien machinery. The walls glowed faintly, casting eerie shadows. Kane glanced around, searching for an exit. There! Myra gasped, pointing to a narrow door partly hidden behind a large console. Kane nodded, pulling Mira toward it. But as they moved, a squad of Vraks blocked their path. Without hesitation, Kane stepped forward, weapon ready. He fired with sharp precision, his shots taking down 2 enemies. But in the chaos, a blast caught his side. Pain exploded through Kane's body. He stumbled but stayed upright, gritting his teeth. "Mira, keep moving. I'll hold them off," he shouted. "No," Myra cried, refusing to leave him behind. "We'll go together." Kane shook his head, sweat mixing with blood on his face. "You're too weak. If you don't escape, none of this matters." Reluctantly, Mira nodded. Kane raised his rifle again, ready to fight. Myra slipped through the narrow door just as Kane's weapon roared again. She paused only to look back, seeing him stand tall despite his injury. Her heart ached, but she knew she had to survive. The room beyond was a maze of pipes and cables. Mira moved quickly, guided by faint lights along the walls. Her lungs burned, but she focused on Kane's sacrifice. After minutes that felt like hours, Mira found a hidden hatch leading outside, a small clearing in the alien jungle. Sky was dark, but the stars shone brightly. She looked up and whispered, "Kane, I won't forget you." Suddenly, distant lights appeared, human ships descending from orbit. Reinforcements had arrived. Myra stumbled toward them, clutching the weapon Kane had given her. Behind her, the jungle seemed to pulse with danger, but now hope was real. The fight was not over, but humanity had won a small victory. Freedom and resolved. The human ships landed smoothly in the clearing, their bright lights cutting through the dark jungle. Soldiers poured out, moving fast and organized. Mira, exhausted and weak, collapsed into their arms. Medics rushed to her side, checking her wounds and giving her water. She blinked up at the stars, feeling the warmth of hope returning. But her mind was still with Kane, the brave soldier who had risked everything to save her. She knew he was hurt, maybe worse. She vowed she would not let his sacrifice be in vain. The commander of the rescue team approached Mira. "You're safe now," he said firmly. "We will find Kane." Mira nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "He's the reason I'm alive. We can't leave him behind." Back in the jungle, Kane struggled to stay conscious. His side burned with pain, but he held on to his mission too. Protect Myra, to keep humanity's hope alive. Not just as darkness threatened to take him, he heard distant voices. Human soldiers appeared, their weapons ready but careful. "We found him." One called. Strong hands lifted Kane, carrying him too. Safety. Days later, Mira and Kane stood together on the human battleship, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but humanity was not alone. Their story was a reminder of promise that no matter how dark the night, courage and hope would always shine. Mira looked at Kane, a quiet smile on her lips. "We survived. Together." Kane nodded. "And we'll fight for everyone who can't." The stars sparkled beyond the windows, endless and bright. Humanity's spirit was unbreakable. The fight for freedom had just begun. Asterisk.